In March 2023, a horror yet unbelievable story unfolded from the coast of Kenya. In the remote village of Shakahola in the county of Kilifi, there was a massacre unfolding in the eyes of the people. How could a crime so grand become unknown in a country with proper administrative structures and people with strong values of community and well-being for their neighbors? How were more than 400 people dead and yet no one noticed? How did Paul Mackenzie, a man with polarizing and controversial opinions and irrational religious beliefs, get away with murder for almost 2 years? This is the sad story of the Shakahola Massacre. Shakahola Forest lies to the southeast of Kenya in Kilifi County, 69.9 kilometers from Malindi town. The forest is part of Chakama Ranch and is situated on the edge of Tsavo National Park. It is an isolated 800-acre forest that is home to dangerous animals like lions, leopards, hyenas and elephants. Locals from Shakahola village sometimes visit to collect firewood, burn charcoal or graze their animals, but they have never lived in the forest. The area is sparsely populated with little infrastructural development as seen on images on Google Earth Pro. This 800-acre Shakahola farm is where Pastor Paul Mackenzie kept his followers while they starved to death, willingly or unwillingly. In the early weeks of April 2023, a man reported to the police that his wife and daughter had left Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, for Malindi, a town that is 500 kilometers away. They had gone to join a remote commune and had not returned. He had tried reaching them via phone, but they could not be reached, and he became terribly worried. He knew there was something wrong. What he did not know, however, was that his wife and child were in a religious organization which was more of a cult deep in the Shakahola Forest. Upon investigation, the police discovered emaciated people and shallow graves. 15 people were rescued by police, but 4 died before reaching the hospital. The followers told police that they had been ordered to starve themselves to death to meet Jesus. What began as one family searching for their 2 missing children ended up with the discovery of mass graves, hundreds of bodies exhumed, and 600 more people missing. It was dubbed the Shakahola Massacre. But who was Paul Mackenzie, the man who lured these innocent people to their deaths? Pastor Paul Mackenzie grew up in rural Kwale County in southern eastern Kenya. He moved to the coastal town of Malindi in the early 1990s, where he worked as a taxi driver. Here he became increasingly interested in religion and started his church. Paul Mackenzie was the owner of Good News International Church, which was founded by him and his first wife in 2003. It was registered as a ministry by the Registrar of Societies in Kenya in 2010, with Mackenzie as chairperson together with 5 other officials. In 2015, Mackenzie registered Good News Media Limited, Times TV, a broadcasting company based in Malindi, Kenya. He would come to accumulate a large following due to his claims that he spoke directly to God. Mackenzie also broadcast his sermons through a YouTube channel that had 677 videos and over 7,000 subscribers. Mackenzie's teachings were apocalyptic and insidious. His was a doomsday cult that warned his followers of impending judgment day that was on its way. His followers were to repent and leave their unrighteous lives behind, for the end of time was nigh and judgment day was here. Paul Mackenzie delivered his sermons to large congregations enthralled to his apocalyptic themes. Children were used to deliver apocalyptic messages to the camera in the churches, now taken down YouTube channel with the caption, "End Time Kids." There were exorcisms mainly done to women to rid them of the demonic forces within them. Mackenzie also urged his followers to sacrifice what they hold dear, including their lives and those of their children, and part of their adherence to the teachings of the church. There are people who don't even want to preach Jesus. They say their children are crying because they are hungry. Let them die. Is there a problem? Mackenzie taught his followers that formal education was evil and was used to extort money. They know education is evil, but they use it for their own gains, he says in a sermon. Those who sell uniforms, write books, those who make pens, all kinds of rubbish. They use their money to enrich themselves while you become poor. In 2017 and 2018, he was arrested for claiming education was not recognized in the Bible and for encouraging children not to go to school. He also condemned education for promoting homosexuality through sex education programs. Paul Mackenzie encouraged mothers to stop seeking medical attention during birth and not to vaccinate their children. These teachings were corroborated by women who narrated how they had delivered a child without the need for a cesarean section and that she later received a prompting from the Holy Spirit to warn her neighbor against vaccinating her child. According to Mackenzie, doctors serve a different God. He discouraged women from plaiting their hair, wearing wigs and wearing ornaments. Much of Pastor Mackenzie's teachings relate to the fulfillment of biblical prophecies about the end of the world, impending doom, the supposed dangers of science and Judgment Day. There were frequent warnings of an omnipotent satanic force that had infiltrated the highest echelons of power around the world. He repeatedly references the New World Order, a conspiracy theory about a plot by global elites to bring about authoritarian world government, replacing nation-states, falsely claiming that the Catholic Church, the United Nations and the United States are behind it. He dismissed health care, education and sports as evils of Western life. He was also skeptical about modern technology, claiming that there was a plan by the Kenyan government to give its citizens the mark of the beast. This was when the government of Kenya was implementing the Huduma number, an identity number for citizens to access government services. Paul Mackenzie was arrested several times throughout his years on different charges concerning his teachings and was taken to court. On 17 March 2017, Pastor Mackenzie was arrested and charged with radicalization, promoting extreme beliefs, and failing to provide children with education, along with Winnie Alexander Gandhi and Betty Mwaka for good behavior. On 17 October 2017, Mackenzie was arrested again and charged with radicalization and offering education in an unauthorized institution in Malindi. He was arrested again in April 2019 and charged in Malindi with 3 counts: incitement to disobedience of the law, possession and distribution of unauthorized films, and operating a film studio without a valid license. On 23 March 2023, the prosecution moved the court seeking orders to hold Mackenzie for 14 days for being connected to the murder of 2 children found in shallow graves in Shakahola, and suspected to have died from starvation and suffocation. The court declined to grant orders for holding Mackenzie, and release him on a cash bail of 10,000 Kenyan shillings, and ordered him to report to the police station as and when required to do so. In 2019, Mackenzie relocated his church to Shakahola Ranch, where he lured his followers with the promise of cheap and affordable arable land. The first activity in the Shakahola Forest occurred between October 22, 2020 and December 21, 2020, when a section of the forest was cleared. Soon after, Mackenzie convinced his followers to join him in the forest and retreat from civilization, as this is what God wanted according to him. The influx intensified during the COVID period. Eventually, Mackenzie called on his followers to begin fasting in readiness for the end of the world in August 2023. Upon relocating his church from Malindi to Shakahola, Mackenzie affected his ideology of indoctrination and radicalization by declaring a fasting regime that would culminate in the ascension to heaven of his followers. Mackenzie lived with hundreds of followers in makeshift homes in the remote forest and had demarcations of areas with biblical names like Jerusalem and Judea. The children were to be the first to starve, followed by women, then men, and finally Pastor Mackenzie, who would ascend to heaven from the center of Malindi in August 2023. Mackenzie also recruited a group of armed militia, both male and female, who were to supervise and enforce the fasting and eventual death of the followers. In the meantime, they dug shallow graves where they buried those who succumbed to starvation. Those who defied the directive to fast or attempted to escape were either strangled or clobbered to death by the militia. The people were denied food and water, held in very harsh and squalid conditions, and prohibited from leaving the Shakahola ranch by Mackenzie and his goons. The deceased were buried in shallow mass graves in the absence of their relatives and without befitting cultural and religious rites. Mackenzie exploited people's vulnerabilities and recruited hundreds of followers across the country, which peaked during the COVID-19 pandemic. He manipulated the gullible followers to dispose of their earthly possessions and lured them through promises of a serene life in Shakahola as they prepared for the end of the world in August 2023. After dispossessing the followers of their livelihoods and life savings, Mackenzie persuaded his followers to destroy their vital documents such as birth certificates, national identity cards, passports, title deeds, academic documents, and marriage certificates. He intentionally isolated his followers from their relatives and the rest of the society by confining them in the desolate Shakahola wilderness, which had no telephone connectivity, transport infrastructure, or social services such as schools and hospitals. Many followers faced a slow, excruciating death, mainly through starvation. On the 25th of March 2023, the mainstream media carried a lead story on horrifying discoveries of scores of people buried in shallow graves in Shakahola Forest, Malindi County. The authorities attributed the unfolding massacre to a religious sect linked to Pastor Paul Mackenzie. 1 month after the mainstream media carried the story, on the 25th of April 2023, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration gazetted Shakahola and the entire Chakama Ranch as a disturbed area and imposed a dusk to dawn curfew for a 30-day period. On the same day, the government launched a search and rescue operation running concurrently with the identification of the mass graves and exhumation of bodies, leading to the exhumation of 112 bodies. In the period running between the 25th of April 2023 and October 2023, the government led a search and rescue operation which ran concurrently with the exhumation of bodies in several mass graves. At the end of the exercise, a total of 429 bodies were exhumed, 67 adult persons and 25 children rescued. The 65 that were arrested were later charged with multiple crimes including murder, attempted murder, manslaughter, aiding suicide, doing grievous harm to another person, radicalization, cruelty and neglect of children, offenses under Prevention of Torture Act, failure to provide minors with necessaries without lawful excuse, failure by the parent to take a child to school, and failure to give notice of death and burying without a burial permit. On 17 January 2024, Mackenzie and his co-suspects were presented before the Malindi High Court to face 191 counts of murder charges of the minors. As of June 3, 2024, the death toll has risen to 436, with 429 bodies exhumed by the government between April 25 and October 2023. Autopsies of the first 112 bodies showed that most of the victims died of starvation, asphyxiation, strangulation or bludgeoning. The investigation also uncovered 214 torture chambers, pieces of cloth and ropes, and unidentified paraphernalia. The Shakahola Massacre is a brutal reminder of the dangers of unregulated religion. Religious practices can offer solace, community and a sense of purpose to millions. The Constitution of Kenya recognizes this and thus guarantees the freedom of religion. While religion provides frameworks for moral guidance, rituals that bind communities and narratives that give meaning to life's profound questions, they could also become breeding grounds for exploitation, manipulation and abuse if unregulated. Mackenzie's consequence of unregulated religion surfaced as psychological manipulation. There should be a delicate balance between religious autonomy and responsible governance to safeguard against individuals from exploitation and harm. What do you think?